Hello world, it's Tuesday the 27th of January and we're looking at a forecast for Soaring from Worcester at the Western Cape Regional Gliding Competition tomorrow, Wednesday the 28th of January 2026. And I'll start off with a picture of the boundary layer wind over our task area. Once again we have this picture where we have a southwest wind blowing onto the northern ridges and a southeasterly wind blowing onto the Langeberg on the eastern ridges, and in the middle near Worcester, behind the mountains of Vic Peak and so on, there's this wind shadow area where there's very light wind. This is at 12 o'clock universal time, which is 2 o'clock local time, and as you can see at Worcester we already have thermals up to 6,000 feet and very light winds on the airfield, which means that we should probably be launching tomorrow before the wind actually picks up noticeably. According to this, we could grid maybe on runway 15, but it's low wind, so it probably doesn't make much difference. Later in the day we'll see that the wind does pick up more from the southeast, which may make that the preferred launch direction. Let's look at cloud for a change. And I'm going to go 10 o'clock in the morning, and as you can see we already have some cloud pushing in from the southern Indian Ocean. That's touching Swellendam already. That's 10 in the morning local time, and by 11 in the morning you can see that Swellendam is under cloud, and by midday it's basically cut off. So I don't think we'll be going east tomorrow. That's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, Worcester's here, the cloud should be visible in the valley. 3 o'clock, and there is some cloud inland. I'll have a look at that more carefully on the high resolution forecast. This cloud is at about 10,000 feet, but there's not very much of it. That's 4 o'clock. It's reached Worcester, and you can see, well, it's maybe touching some cloud, high cloud at 8,000 feet. The southeast wind is picked up to 20 knots, but it tapers off as you go up in height. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Let's look at some surface wind, and I'll come back to the morning and we'll run through this. We'll see it's 11, midday, 1, 2 o'clock it becomes noticeable. We won't be going to Swellendam, but on this side it is, and that's 3 o'clock. Now let's just see what we've got at Tilbach. We've got this wind which is looks like a sea breeze, but perhaps it still has some thermic energy in it. It's nearly 20 knots on the ground and dying down to calm at 6,000 feet at the top of the thermal height. Ridge height you'll probably have maybe 10 knots of wind. Not a clear ridge day, but it should work. That's 4 o'clock, and that's getting a bit late for Tilbach, and yeah, that's very southerly at Porterville, so I don't know quite how that ridge is going to work late in the afternoon. And at 5 o'clock it's getting more of the same. We'll look at some synoptics but later. We'll look on the high resolution forecasts. Last one to look at here is the, let's go to thermaling height. Been a few tasks that go out into the valley, and I think the competition director might set a few more of those. So let's just see what happens in the valley. That's 11. That's midday. 12, 1 o'clock. There's things starting to happen at Worcester. Robertson is about as far east as you can get tomorrow. And yeah, it's sitting at about 5,000. There's that inversion. And then the cloud base just above it. Worcester also sitting with an inversion, fairly strong inversion at about 5,000 feet. When the inversion height and the ridge height are similar, you can get quite interesting turbulence on the ridge. So it may need to be a bit careful in the early afternoon. Inland, we're looking at thermaling heights of between 8.5 and 9,000 feet, and they pick up. Well, that's 4 o'clock, but this thing is recalibrated. So the light green is now, the yellow starts at 10,000 feet. But just another way of looking at thermaling, just to keep things honest, this is the depth of the critical updraft layer, the depth of the thermaling layer. And obviously in the valleys, where the valley floor is lower, you have a taller range of working height that you can use for thermaling. When you get over the high ground, the thermals are not that much higher than the top of the mountain, and your actual working range is less, although you have the ridges there to help you. So it's a bit of one or the other. But on a blue day, you can't always choose where the next thermal is going to be. And if you're over the high ground, there's not so much landing options. Looking at Toes River at 3 in the afternoon, that actually looks quite respectable. I'm going to go and look at some high resolution charts. Let's see what we got. This is a part of the critical updraft strength. This is on the 1.3 kilometer forecast. So this is in the Worcester Valley at 2 o'clock, and you can see there's quite a lot of space to work around if you have turn points in the valley. Ceres Valley as well, although if you go in there, you've got to have a plan to get out again. 5 o'clock, it's interesting to note that a lot of the places in the valley start dying. Certainly this is east of Robertson. Torbach Valley is dying, and east of Porterville, that Porterville Ridge. Still at the Breda River Valley around Worcester, it's still working. And inland, there's some things happening here. Looking at cloud base also on the high resolution map, that's at 11. You should be able to see something happening when you're waiting on the grid. It's 2 o'clock, and Robertson is really under it already, and there's some high cloud between Worcester and Robertson, and that's at 5 o'clock, and there's still some high cloud out here. This is up to 10,000 feet. There's not very much of it, so that might not be there when you need it, but it could be fun if you actually get there. I'm not sure if this is a day to go inland. You would have to look carefully at what develops tomorrow. Let's just run through the T5s again. First looking at this is Worcester. We're looking east towards Robertson. Worcester at 2, Robertson at 2, Swellendam I'm not bothering with. Robertson at 5, you can go there, but it's down to the height of the ridge nearly. And Worcester at 5 is still open. Going north, that's Torbach to Porterville 2, looks good, but this inversion is strong. It's higher than the ridge at Porterville, so not a problem. Clanwilliam, Renoster Hook, Claver. Once again, that inversion is there all the way. So if you go north, you won't get much above 4,000 feet ever. But at 5 o'clock, things start dying. Worcester Hook is very southerly. Worcester Hook itself is probably all right. As you come back down the ridge, you're going to be faced with this quite strong southerly wind and a dying thermal energy. Porterville, yep. And then when you get back to Tilbach, if you get back at 5 o'clock, that valley that we saw, valley is dead. There might still be some stuff happening on the Witzenberg. But there's some interesting wind shears as well. So it's not clear what's actually going to be happening on that ridge. Yeah, not sure what you're going to get tomorrow. Looks like quite an interesting day. I don't think you'll be going east. You might be launching a bit earlier. And if you go to the north, you don't want to be out too late in the afternoon. I saw everybody flew today. Everybody got round and got home. So I hope you had enjoyed it. And tomorrow, please fly safely and have fun. Good night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.